In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Call today's session into order.
Your Honor, defendant Sophia Julian is being tried for the murder of her sibling Daniela Julian after having fed the victim peanut butter muffins, despite knowing about her extreme peanut allergies. If found guilty, we're proposing that she receive 50 years in prison.
Miss Julian, will you be representing yourself in today's cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant Sophia Julian has been found guilty for the third-degree murder of her sister, Daniela Julian. I hereby sentence her to 50 years in prison.
Objection! 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 The prosecutor suggesting such an extreme sentence is an example of anchoring bias. He's trying to manipulate you, Your Honor. Don't believe me? Imagine if instead he had suggested a shorter sentence.
I hereby call this session into order.
Your Honor, defendant Sophia Julian is being tried for the murder of Daniela Julian after having fed the victim peanut butter muffins, despite knowing about her extreme peanut allergies. If found guilty, we're proposing that she receives up to 10 years in prison.
The defendant, Sophia Julian, has been found guilty for the third-degree murder of her sister, Daniela Julian. I hereby sentence her to 10 years.
As you can see, the judge's final verdict changed completely when Mr. Tantat adjusted the proposed sentence. This is a clear example of anchoring bias, where the first piece of information that we are presented with hinders our ability to judge the case as a whole. In this case, Your Honor, you are suggesting that the defendant should receive a 50-year sentence solely based on the prosecutor's suggested sentence from the beginning of the trial. If the prosecutor had suggested a reasonable 10-year sentence like he did at the beginning of the second scenario, you would have never given the defendant such a high sentence.
Oh wait, I remember a case like this in my law school studies. It was done by English and Musweiler in 2001. The study involved a prosecutor suggesting two very different sentences for a case of alleged rape, either 2 months or 34 months. Then, a group of senior law students was asked to determine how long the prison term should be. They determined an average of 17.21 months. However, the answers of the jury participants were very different. The average for the high anchor group was 28.7, while the low anchor group was 9.1. These results show how heuristics, in this case anchoring bias, affect our system on thinking.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance? I fail to see why this imaginary scenario matters at all. The defendant is clearly guilty.
Why does it matter? Of course it matters. This could be the difference between having a family and a life versus rotting me in prison for half a decade. The jury is probably so hooked on the fact that if Mr. Tantat introduced I knew Daniela had a nut allergy. They heard that at first, and now they hear everything I say gets twisted to fit it. They don't hear that I checked the label. They don't hear that I've given Daniela these muffins multiple times with no problem. Anchoring bias means that they latch onto the first detail and never look back. But that's not justice. That's a shortcut our brains take, and that could ruin my life.
Learning of the effects anchoring bias had on my court, I officially call for a retrial. This session is adjourned.
Rats, my plan has failed. If you don't want to be manipulated by evil prosecutors like me, make sure you notice anchoring bias in the future. Never take the first piece of information you learn at face value, especially when it comes to the numbers.
Always look at the bigger picture! Yay!